everybody, it's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. Finish this painting, but I'm sure, or at least I hope, I'll see you at lutfstudio.com. Good evening. Welcome back to another episode of Live Up to Freedom. I am your host, Annie Cyrus. If you're wondering why I'm laughing right off the bat, I promise you that painting was done about 2 years ago. But we haven't had the chance to shoot a new commercial. But lutfstudio.com still exists. Lots of new pieces are available. So feel free to head over there and pick a piece or two, or I don't know, buy gifts, send it to your friends. That way you will continue supporting this program. I will be joined by a very, very special guest who's not a first timer on my program here shortly. But before we do that, she recently did something that I would say 99.999990000% of journalists out there didn't bother or didn't care or didn't want to risk it. And she went out of her way. That's one of the things she does that I love about her. And traveled to Texas to make sure to not only be there and support, but also capture the very first moments of Steve Baker walking out of court on his court date. So I want you to join me on, it's a short clip. Let's watch that report by her, and then when we come back, we bring her on, and we will start talking about not just the Steve Baker, but in general, what is happening to free speech, journalism, all of our amendments on our Constitution, and on and on. So let's take a look at this clip.
How are you feeling? Because that was a lot to take on.
You know, I if I'm being honest, I don't feel good right now.
Yeah.
I'm still processing the humiliation that I just was put through.
Yeah.
And it's the most humiliated I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
And it's for doing something that I believe that I was supposed to be doing back 3 years ago on January 6th. And so the fact that I'm, I was put in leg chains today is something I never dreamed would ever happen to me. And to be honest with you, it's not for things I said or did. It's for things I said.
Yeah.
Words that I said before or after or whatever. Because that's what they're after. They're after to suppress our speech. And I really don't know how to express myself in the way I want to yet. I'm going to have to process it. It's something I'm going to have to think about for 24 hours,
Yeah.
and then do what I do is write it all down, and then I'll know what to say and what to tell the world, But this is it's been tough.
I can't even imagine. I am not in his shoes. I am nowhere near his resume, his bravery, his service to this country. But as a fellow human, fellow American, and a fellow investigative journalist, I can't even imagine what he must have been going through, still going through, and what's in his head. But what I can tell you is we have an expert who has been following Steve Baker's work and case and legal matters from day one. Brianna Morello will join us here right now. The one and only, who I always introduce her as the amazing woman there is. Hi, Brianna.
Hi, Annie. It's a pleasure to be on your show. And I feel the same way about you. You are a great journalist. You're someone who I turn to when it comes to areas like the Middle East and conflicts over there. And you've got all the best information for that. So I strongly rely on your journalism as well.
I appreciate that. Well, both of us, we're going to take the next 50 minutes or so of this evening to talk about, which I think we both agree, a journalist, a hero, a brave patriot who's been pretty much chased, hunted, sabotaged by this so-called new regime in this country, and that is Steve Baker. But before we go to the good news that you broke recently, walk us through that day. Because I know you
Yes.
traveled. You went all the way there. You were there as he got out of the car, until walked in, walked. So just walk us through that day. Personally, what you were going through.
Well, Steve Baker is a good friend of mine. I strongly relied on his reporting when he was in DC, reporting on several high profile cases regarding January 6th. And he's a reporter now for The Blaze. He's an investigative reporter. So he sat there in the courtrooms and kind of dissected everything that was going on. And he wasn't one of those corporate media hacks that were lying. And so that's why his journalism was so important. But he also uncovered several important stories regarding the Department of Justice committing perjury during the Oath Keepers trial. And so the DOJ is not a fan of Steve Baker's, of course. And so we relied on his reporting strongly. So Steve Baker called me and he said, hey, the DOJ, which I've known has been investigating him for over 2 years because he was there that day on January 6th reporting in the Capitol. He told me, hey, I was just alerted that they have now officially obtained an arrest warrant for me and they want me to turn myself in. I said, Steve, you let me know where you're going to do that in the country and I will be there. I will be in that courtroom and I will support you fully. And so he alerted me it was going to happen on a Friday in Dallas, Texas, right where the Blaze is headquartered at. And so I flew over there and was one of it was just the Blaze and myself who were in that courtroom following everything. And like Steve told you in that video, after he was released, he was put in leg irons, he was arrested, and he had his hands cuffed for 4 misdemeanor offenses, not felonies, minor offenses. And they're accusing him of just entering a restricted area on January 6th. And he's one of the very, very few journalists who have been charged that day. The only journalists who are really charged are the ones that didn't comply with the corporate narrative like Steve did. So it was very interesting to be in the courtroom with him. He was in front of the judge. The judge gave him all of the rules. They agreed to release him without bail or without requesting bail, but they gave him a bunch of rules that I believe are
Wait.
unconstitutional.
I'm gonna interrupt you for a second. Are you telling me they actually are catching criminals, real criminals, who were burning down buildings and flags and hitting people and almost killing people on the summer of love? They were catching them, no handcuffs, nothing, and releasing them. But with Steve Baker, who has done literally nothing wrong, I know you said, 4 misdemeanors, no felonies, but if you think about it, as he mentioned himself, they're doing all of this because he practices God-given right of freedom of speech. They actually put him in like handcuffs and walked him like a criminal into the court and all that. And then they were so nice to release him without a bail.
Yeah, that's the same guy. The U.S. Marshals, when they were processing him, said it was BS, but they used the explicit term, of course. They knew it was garbage. Everyone who I've spoken to, FBI agents, they have all said that they've never had to do that before for these type of minor offenses. So they wanted to make an example out of Steve, and they put him in a line full of people accused of felonies and people with histories and backgrounds, criminal backgrounds. And so that's who Steve Baker was set to kind of sit beside in court. And it's just strange given the fact that, yes, he is a journalist. Yes, his work is highly respected amongst his peers. And yes, a lot of us use his work all the time. And so the DOJ is going after him, and they're going after him for doing such great reporting that day. And it's disappointing. The good news is that obviously the Blaze is standing by him. They've given him promotions and they've moved him up, but he shouldn't have to go through this. And that's the key part in all of this. He's being unfairly targeted because he went into the Capitol with other journalists that day. And so if they're accusing him of going into a restricted area, he wasn't alone. There were several journalists who were next to him who were also in that same restricted area, but they're not being prosecuted. And they're not being prosecuted, of course, because they went with the corporate media narrative. They said things like insurrectionist and other terms the DOJ loves. And so they are not being placed in handcuffs and arrested and prosecuted. Now, if Steve's convicted on all 4 counts, misdemeanor counts, he faces a minimum of 6 months in prison and maximum of 1 year in prison. So it's very, very serious. And obviously, he's going to be in front of a DC jury, which we all know is not favorable to Republicans, conservatives, however you want to phrase it. They have a high conviction rate because they just hate the opposition.
They do. And 6 months to a year, that can do a lot of damage to one's life, reputation. The left's gonna never stop talking about it, because you know how it is. Like, not to get sidetracked from Steve Baker and the case, but you know, you talk to leftists like, Trump is a criminal. I'm like, and you want to show me the proof? What do you
Yeah.
mean he's been indicted? I'm like, again, show me the proof. We are at the time in our lives, Rihanna. I never thought 21 years ago coming to America I would ever face this day, but telling the truth is a crime. Doing the right
Yeah.
thing is a felony. And being loved by your nation is definitely a crime, even if you didn't commit it. And again, we don't really have a justice system. I at least feel like there is no justice system. It's a 2-tier justice system. A lot of them are above the law. And no matter what we do, I feel like sooner rather than later, every single one of us are going to go through what a Steve Baker is going through and been going through and is going to go through, just because we're not willing to say, oh, okay, what would you like me to say on my show? You want me to tell them Trump bad, Biden good? You got it. I will do that. We're not going to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and they don't have the cojones to do that, Andy. There's a reporter for NBC, Ryan Riley, who actually sat next to Baker in a lot of those high profile court cases, and he just whatever the DOJ said, he just wrote it in his pieces. He bashed a lot of these individuals. He ruined their chance at ever having a fair jury because he pretty much convicted them in his work. And the difference is he's not being prosecuted, but he wrote a piece about all of this, and he refused to call Baker a journalist. He referred to him as a libertarian, a former member of rock bands, but refused to say journalist. And so he signed off on all of this. He's a member of the media who is giving the DOJ its stamp of approval to keep prosecuting, keep targeting these people. It's disgraceful.
Exactly. Well,
Mhm.
let's, I'm not going to necessarily say, let's go from this terrible reality and news to, yay, great news, but somewhat of a hopeful news, at least from my point of view. You broke the news, I believe yesterday, might have been day before. Forgive me as I'm not sure when it was, but looks like you actually put these letters, copies of the letters on your Twitter account. So if anybody wants to grab a copy of it, just go to her X account. DOJ, specifically, I believe, this is work of Congressman Jim Jordan, which I'm a big fan of. They are finally going to open some sort of investigation into starting with the Steve Baker and then some of the J6 defendants, the way DOJ has handled them or dealt with them. What are we
Yeah.
facing here?
It's interesting. So for the last 2+ years, we've been bothering politicians to get involved. We finally have some sense of hope right now. I got my hands exclusively on a letter that came from the Judiciary Committee chairman, Jim Jordan, like you stated. It was sent to Matthew Graves' office. Matthew Graves is the DOJ's go-to man for persecuting all these J6ers. He's the U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia. He has been targeting these J6ers significantly. So this letter is important because this letter highlights what he's asking for now. So Jordan wants, specifically, he wants all communications and documents regarding Steve Baker, other journalists. He wants also J6 defendants, the documents regarding J6 defendants who were held in detention, which is like the DC Gulag, prior to their trial. He wants all those documents and communications. And ultimately, he's trying to find if the DOJ is unfairly targeting these people. Now, we know they are. We'll see if he turns over these documents. He'll probably lie, Graves, and just say he can't hand it over because it's an ongoing investigation. But luckily, there's been several cases that have gone all the way through. They've been prosecuted. They've been sentenced. Some of these individuals have been freed, so he can't hide behind the pending investigation for long. He has to comply at some point. So we'll just see how much the Judiciary Committee pushes this, whether or not they push this all the way through to make sure that we do get these answers. But this is a critical first step. This is the biggest first step that we've had so far, because now members of Congress are putting their name on it and they want to know what's going on to these J6ers. So it's refreshing to see for sure. And we're very proud of Jim Jordan for making those first initial steps. I know it's taken a long time to get to this point, but we're just thankful that we're here at this point, and we just have to be kind of positive and hopeful that something will come of it.
Agreed. I'm personally, as you know me, I'm always like, we'll see. I've heard enough of, as Steve Baker himself mentioned, you had him and his lawyer on your program last night, and he kind of said, a lot of people are going to say, we've seen enough of scary letters. That was my first response. I'm like, well, I've seen these letters. They're going over. And I have not been able or had the honor to have Steve Baker on my show about any of this yet, but you did. So let's go and listen to what Steve Baker had to say about my reaction on your show last night.
We have the Judiciary Committee now backing you and asking these questions that a lot of us were asking when you were arrested. What's your reaction to the letter that was sent by Chairman Jordan to Matthew Graves' office?
Well, I was pleasantly surprised. I certainly would have liked for that to happen before I was arrested. I had the opportunity to talk to Jim Jordan back in May of last year, and I was able to actually, as a result of that meeting with him, be granted access to his own team of investigators on the Weaponization Committee. And so I've been working very closely with them now for many, many months. And I would have thought maybe we'd have got them pushed a little bit further along, a little bit faster than we've been able to do that in terms of recognition, in terms of openly stating that they're going to investigate these abuses by the Department of Justice and by the FBI and by other agencies as well. But hey, it's happening, so I'm thankful.
I agree. I'm thankful too. But again, I don't know, Brianna. I don't know. I love Jim Jordan. I'm proud of him just as like you are. And I know he's the type who's going to push and push. I just don't know if he has enough backing. Are there enough Congress members backing him on this?
He does. So he's been getting the support of Barry Loudermilk as well. There's a handful of them. I know Thomas Massey, the other Congressman Thomas Massey, is another one who has publicly supported Steve. He's also shared a lot of my tweets and content regarding Steve as well. It's a small group, but it's a good group. Congressman Matt Gaetz, I also believe, will probably get involved in this as well. He's also on the Judiciary Committee. So we'll see. There's a lot of people behind the scenes who are interested in it. He's gotten the most attention so far. I constantly reach out to people, and he's the only one who's really getting the big push and stamp of approval. So it's very interesting to see. I hope so. We're a little optimistic. I, for one, I just spoke to another office today, and they told me, they assured me that they are playing a very close eye onto all of this. So we'll see. I hope that they stick to their word here and don't back down. It's very important that they do.
Agreed. And Congressman Gaetz, you brought his name up. I was actually when you informed me that you're breaking the news and all that, and then I was watching your program from last night. By the way, I keep saying this for anyone who has a habit of not looking at the lower third on shows. You can find her show, the Brianna Morello Show. You can find it on Rumble, on her website. You don't want to miss it. I'm not saying this because I love her and I consider her friend. I'm saying this because she's breaking news. That's the best my English got for you right now. She's breaking so many news that you need to hear. It's important. It matters. So make sure to follow her X account. All this information is right in front of you. Just look at that, like somewhere around here, lower third, wherever it is. But I was watching your show this morning from last night, and I was waiting. I went and started looking to see if Gaetz has said anything. I didn't see anything yet, but I was hoping he might get involved because I know he has spoken out before. Like he's
Yeah.
talked about the J6 situation and the crisis and how all of it is in his mind, unconstitutional and all that. So I do hope that does happen. We are coming up on our first break. So there's more, of course, we want to discuss, and there are more questions I want to ask you, Brianna. But if you don't mind, we're going to take a quick commercial break, hear from our sponsors, and then be back. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Step 1. Cleanse with the enzyme collagen cleanser. Gently exfoliates and removes dead skin cells. Brightens and evens out skin tones. Repairs damage caused by environmental stressors. Protects skin's barrier function. Use daily for clean, smooth, glowing skin. Experience the Bella Grace Enzyme Collagen Cleanser for a refreshing start and a radiant finish.
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50% and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order ships absolutely free.
Welcome back to Live Up to Freedom. Thank you so much for staying with me and my special guest until now. Yes, go to mypillow.com and mystore.com. That promo code actually applies to both websites. AC21, you get discount, I get credit, and we both, doing so, continue supporting the work of Mike Lindell, who's fighting in front lines for our freedoms, or more detail, to save our elections from the disaster that has been. Also, the other sponsors. Cyrus Grace, amazing products. Their most popular product, I actually have one of them right here in my hand. It's their elixir. I'm not going to sit here and I'll tell you I'm a doctor, or I can guarantee you this is going to do such and such for you. But what I can tell you is, since I started taking this, I have basically seen major results, such as I work very long hours. And guess what? I don't need my afternoon nap anymore. I don't really do much of Red Bull drinking. Most of you know I used to be a Red Bull addict. Also, the inflammation on my left leg, as those of you who have been following me for a while, that is gone. Now, what does it do for you? I don't know. And as I said, this is not here to cure any problems, but this elixir can make a lot of differences in your life as far as your health is concerned. CyrusGrace.com. If you go in there and get your next subscription, you will get 20% discount and I will get credit. So we continue supporting this program. Okay, enough of advertisers and the sponsors. And I really have to do this. And Brianna doesn't mind when I do it, because she knows that most of us broadcasters, we got to somehow, bring in the revenue for the show so we can continue doing the show. Okay. Brianna, before going to the commercial ad, we talked about Gates and all that, but I want to bring this up. And again, the audience might be like, stop being so negative. I'm not being negative. I'm being realistic. This investigation, they will investigate, right? And they might find all the possible crimes we can think of. But then who's going to actually take the next step from investigation into actually filing charges and making these people face charges and justice for those who were victimized by them?
Yeah.
I've seen letters, I've seen investigations, but what will be the result of this be?
Yeah. I mean, the only hope that you'd have is within a new administration coming in, that you could purge the DOJ and then go after the people that were in the Department of Justice. A lot of them are trying to make arguments against President Trump and immunity. and his co-defendants in Fulton County who worked for the government and the DOJ at the time. They're trying to say that they don't have immunity. So it's interesting because if Trump does win, he could use that same argument against them and prosecute them for what they're doing to J6ers. So we'll see if that actually takes place. I don't know. I imagine that they're going to be very, very difficult with turning over power to the President Trump. I think he'll win, but it's a matter of will he beat the fraud and will they allow him to take over? Because I know that if he does take over, they're probably all going to prison, and they don't want to go to prison, and so they will fight like heck to make sure that doesn't take place. So we'll have to see. Ultimately, though, yes, they would. If they committed criminal acts, there would be a criminal referral to the Department of Justice, and the Department of Justice would decide if they're going to go after them and file charges. And so we need a new DOJ in order to do so, because you're literally turning to the same hand that is going after these J6ers and asking them to prosecute their own people, which is not going to happen.
Exactly. And since we're talking about ifs, here's my curiosity as we get closer to the primary and closer to the election. I keep thinking, Brianna, and you know me, I'm realistic. I'm not a negative person, but I'm realistic. I'm like, so possibilities. We all know President Trump is going to win this election. I
Yeah.
know voters who voted for Biden all pitchy about it, who are like, never again. Like the Biden voters have a new never again movement of their own. So no doubt about it, President Trump's going to win this. But when there's still the election, I'm not going to say if, I'm going to say when there's still the election, do you think our fellow Americans are going to actually stand up this time, or are they going to react the same way they did in 2020?
I think people are going to be fearful. I think that's the reason why they're going after these J6ers. It's meant to instill fear in the hearts of Americans so they don't challenge the election. There were some people there that day that were peaceful. The majority of them were peaceful, in fact. And for being at a rally, which they were permitted to be at, they were prosecuted. And they said, oh, you went to a restricted area, but the areas were poorly marked. Most of these people couldn't see them. People who just didn't even go into the Capitol were prosecuted. And so I think a lot of Americans are seeing that, and they don't want the book thrown at them. They don't want their family to have to go through bankruptcy and fight all of these charges. So I think a lot of people are going to be fearful and not want to participate in any type of protest, peaceful protest, even at that, because they know what the federal government will do. And we're finding out more and more and more about JU6, about how the intel community played a key role in all of this. And so we'll just have to kind of wait and see how this all plays out. It's disturbing, but I think a lot of people are fearful. I don't expect them to want to participate in any type of protest if something does happen.
True. And again, I'm very good at getting sidetracked, right? Oh, she said this. I want to hear this about it. It's just my nature.
Yeah.
But back to what we were just talking about. Okay, let's say this letter goes and all that. If you don't mind, I also want to, again, since you got Steve Baker on your show, I want our audience to hear his thoughts. And of course, these are just short clips, so still go watch the full show because he was amazing and powerful. But you asked Steve Baker about this letter and for him to go over it. That I grabbed a short clip of his response to that. Let's go take a look at that before I get sidetracked again from Steve Baker's and this letter.
Yeah. Steve, I want to talk about this letter a bit because in the first page of it, we have Chairman Jordan who's going after Matthew Graves and calling him out, saying that there were other journalists there that day that have not been charged. And he calls out specifically one from the New Yorker who wasn't charged. Why do you think, first off, that these journalists aren't being charged? Because, again, if they're saying that you committed a crime, you were side by side, plenty of them in the Capitol that day. So essentially, if they're going to charge anyone and they're applying the law equally, they'd have to go after these individuals. So why do you think they're not going after them?
Well, there's the reason that they're not, and then there's the reason that they say that they're not. Okay, so we have to separate those two out. The reason why they say that they're not being charged is because they're saying, okay, some of these journalists had press credentials, they had press passes, some of them even had congressional press passes, and then the reality is all of those journalists know, especially if they went to journalism school, because journalism 101 is you don't get to cross a restricted barrier or enter behind a police line without law enforcement permission just because you have a press pass. A press pass, whether it's New York Times, Washington Post, or a congressional press pass, does not allow you to break that barrier. And so now they have to answer for why they are treating me differently. So they're going to do one of two things. They're going to either do to me what they did to Stephen Horn and not allow me to present my history and my druthers as a legitimate writer, journalist, commentator, analyst, investigator, or they're going to have to answer the question and actually tell us why they're engaging in selective prosecution for not arresting the other 60-something journalists, whether they had press passes or not, whether they were mainstream, whether they were independents, whether they were freelancers, stringers, whatever their status was. It seems to be, from what I've seen so far, and I've been covering these trials, I've been watching it very closely, is that the only ones being prosecuted are those who see this event through maybe a little different political lens than the approved narrative, and that's the reality. That's the difference.
Absolutely, that is the difference. Again, you can watch the full show on Brianna's website or Rumble channel. What is your website, Brianna?
Just the Brianna, the website itself is briannamorello.com. So that's where everyone can go. All of my social media platforms and details on how you can watch a show. It's all on that one platform. So that's the best way to do so.
Okay, perfect. And I don't know if I've said that since we started, but thank you, Brianna. You are doing things that no one else is. You're going out of your way. You're traveling. And I understand part of you is doing it because he's a great friend of yours. But at the same time, other part of you is doing it because you're so committed to the truth. You're so good at not giving in. Hey, you walked away from a comfort of Fox News because you weren't willing to say, okay, inject me with the poison, right?
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah.
you. You're amazing.
That's what's so important. Some people don't have any morals in this industry, and so they just comply. But the rest of us don't. We end up on independent platforms. But it's great. It's great for us. It's great that we have these platforms to do so, and shows like yours that we could speak truth to power. And I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. So, before we let you go for today, I would just say, I'm going to phrase it simply to, what do you want to leave our audience with? We talked about the bad, the possible good, the optimistic. What is, like, take the floor. What do you want to tell the Americans out there who might watch this?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think most Americans need to realize that independent journalism, Steve was at the time was an independent journalist. We thrive on independent support. So it's people like you are watching the show and supporting through buying products through, your show and other shows. That's how we all survive. So it's interesting. So I think most Americans find a way to support independent journalists. If you find ones that you think are of quality, make sure you support them in any way possible. Using the promo codes, using all of that, that's critical. It's how we keep people out of the hands of the corporate media, and we support them by supporting them through all these other avenues. So do that, subscribe to Substacks, Twitters, all of that, because that's really, really important.
Absolutely agreed. Yes, and my audience are very, very familiar with my concept of I'm not going to just tell you, oh, go follow everybody. No, actually, don't follow everybody. You do your homework, figure out who you're following, who you're listening to, who you're believing. In my case, don't even believe me. Take my words, go do your own research, confirm what I told you, and then believe me. But Brianna is definitely a person you want to follow. She has broken many news. She has done a lot of great investigation and action, taken action. So she is not only to be trusted, but she's definitely to be supported. One last question before we let you go, Brianna. I know you were on my show and we talked detail about it, but do you have any update on the lawsuit you were filing or you filed against the VA?
Yeah, so right now we're working our way through it. We're seeing if the VA is going to have any information for us soon. They're giving them potentially a 30-day extension. So we haven't heard back yet if they're willing to accept it, but they haven't really responded directly. We just know that there's been counsel assigned to our lawsuit from their end of it all. So we'll probably know soon. We should know by mid-April what their status is. It's a slow roller these days, but we'll get to the bottom of it because they should not be targeting J6ers and veterans, and they should be getting all their benefits. So we're going to figure it out.
Absolutely. And for our audience who might have possibly missed that interview with Brianna on my channel, just go back and watch it. Or short clip is, again, action. She takes actions. So she sued the VA to try to protect and get some justice for J6 defendants. Brianna, as always, you're amazing. Keep up the good work. Keep safe out there. You ever need anything, if there's a news you need to break on this program, I am call away or a text away.
Thank you, Annie. I appreciate it as always.
Absolutely. We're going to take another quick commercial break. When we come back, I need to give you a couple of updates before we wrap up this evening's program. Don't go any further. I'll be right back.
Step 2. Treat. With the Dewy Serum. Deeply hydrates and locks in moisture. Protects from free radical damage. Targets multiple signs of aging. Boosts microcirculation. Revealing a youthful, radiant, dewy complexion. Dewy Serum goes beyond ordinary skincare, leading you to a realm of glowing, rejuvenated beauty.
Looks like you've been sleeping well.
Megan, he's back. The My Pillow guy.
And you're looking good.
Still feeling good.
Well, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, we've got the best pillow ever, My Pillow 2.0. When I invented My Pillow, it had everything you'd ever want in a pillow. Well, now there's new technology that makes it even better. My Pillow 2.0 has my patented fill combined with a cooling fabric with temperature regulating thread. My Pillow 2.0 is truly the next generation of My Pillow.
Now's the time to go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use the promo code to save 50% on your My Pillow 2.0. Not only that, for a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free.
You're sleeping even better.
And cooler, too.
And you're looking good.
Feeling good.
I knew you would.
MyPillow.com.
Welcome back to Live Up to Freedom. Thank you so much for staying with me until now. Yes, please go and check out all of our sponsors, cyrusgrace.com, mypillow.com, mystore.com, lutfstudio.com, and all the .coms there are. So check them all out. I'm always grateful for your support. What an amazing woman, Brianna. Make sure to go check out her website, briannamorello.com, and follow her on X. Now, kind of related to very same topic. I want to go over something that happened about less than a week ago, Monday or Sunday. And you know me, I name names. I'm not afraid of naming names because I don't like beating around the bushes or leave you guessing who I'm talking about. So, you know, freedom of speech is absolutely barely there. And I say mainly we're to be blamed because if you don't practice your God-given rights, well, you lose them. But a lot of it has to do with, of course, the Biden regime and Hussein Obama regime and the regime before that. But also, a huge part of it is us, not because we're not practicing it. Because sometimes, and by us, I don't mean Americans or conservatives or Christian. No, I mean journalists, hosts, broadcasters, news anchors, whatever we want to call ourselves. Media people, how about that? You know, sometimes we have this habit to become bigger, more popular, to get more clicks, more donations, more sponsors, whatever the case might be. What do? We kind of sort of jump into these little bubbles of lies, fake information, misinformation, disinformation, too many words to use. And then when we're already big with millions of followers, most of them just taking whatever we say and run with it, as I said at the end of last segment, we need to be very careful of how our information is affecting the country, affecting our goal, mission, rights. Most importantly, the freedom of speech right. Again, I have talked about this millions of times that our First Amendment in America is it's a very well. Our Second Amendment is absolutely doesn't exist anywhere else. U.S. is the only country with that amendment. But even our First Amendment is a very, very rare collection of rights. Where am I going with this? The one and only Candace Owens. I have talked about Candace Owens before. Candace Owens started kind of sort of coming out about 2 years ago talking about how she's been asked to talk about Islam and it's not her forte, so she's going to look into it and see what I can do. I don't remember how many, I lost count, but my phone was blowing up on X back then, Twitter, with people tagging me like, hey, Candace, here's your expert. Yes, I am the expert. Here's the expert. But she decided, for whatever reason, she decided to invite Imam of Peace, the Iranian Shia Imam from Australia, to be the guest on her show to talk about the issue of Islam. After that, I reached out myself, tweet messages, whatever ways I could. I said, I appreciate you had him on. Do you mind giving a chance to the other side? Again, it's not about me. Any other ex-Muslim. Do you mind giving us a chance to counter what you allowed Imam of Peace saying on your show? Never heard back, of course, clearly. So we continued the one-sided tunnel vision of Imam of Peace talking about religion of peace and lying about it. And then she had this 2 hours long of interview with us, what she called her buddy, forgot his last name, Tate, whatever Tate. The guy who is now under investigation with his brother for sex trafficking and selling women and paying for women and all that crime, actively under investigation, who also converted to Islam. 2 hours of him sitting there saying, I didn't do anything wrong. Converting to Islam helped me being able to do a lot of things that Christianity wouldn't allow me. Go watch it. I'm not willing to watch it again. I watched it twice. Once because I didn't believe what people were saying. Second time because I was like pausing and replaying. I'm like, did he just say that? Anyways, fast forward until last week or this week, early this week, Candace Owens decided to apologize to all Muslims in America and across the world, starting by saying that after September 11, when she was 11 years old, she started being brainwashed at the school about Muslims and Islam and how Muslims are all terrorists and jihadis and Islam is all about this and that. And then the society started doing this Islamophobic act anyways. Before I lose my cool, as always, she goes on and on and on and apologizes for being... So, listen up here. Candace Owens, I have personally, as an ex-Muslim, former child bride from Islamic Republic of Iran, who has read the Quran more than 75 times in languages of Arabic, English, and Farsi, raised by a sheikh and a mother who is a teacher of Quran. I have given you plenty of chances to give me a microphone to debate you or Tate or anybody else who claims Islam is this shiny future of humanity. And you have refused to even acknowledge my request. So let's do this publicly. Ma'am, stick to your topic. I don't even know what is your topic, but stick to it. Islam isn't your topic. You want to apologize to Muslims for the terrible treatment they have received from us Christians, conservatives, Western people. Do it on your own behalf. I owe nobody an apology. You know why? Because I didn't go buy a 13-year-old girl from her father as a Christian, rape her every day, beat her every day, slave her every day. No. It was a Muslim man in Iran who bought me at age 13 from my Muslim sheikh father. So if anybody owes anybody an apology, I think you should start apologizing to all the ex-Muslims, especially women and girls who have suffered and continue suffering under oppression of Islam and Sharia. I'm not asking for your apology because your apology will not make a difference in my life. It doesn't. Thank the Lord I was saved. I healed through God's forgiveness. But next time you want to use your millions of follower platforms to promote Islamization, you may want to think twice. Some of us normally mind our own business, do our own teaching based on facts. Like, again, pointing at, let me bring this up. This, you see, this is the book I teach from. This is the system of Islamic laws. I have notes. I have read it. I have translated it. I've talked about it on my shows. I've talked about it, broken it down on my public speeches. Right? We do our own thing. You need to start doing your own thing. But if you want to start becoming another mouthpiece for Islamization in America, I will gladly add you to the list of Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, Keith Allison, Hussein Obama, and the rest of them. By the way, there are 281 Islamic Sharia obeying representatives in the United States of America, from local to state to federal. So sorry if I'm not naming all of you. I'm not being Islamophobe. Good for you, for all of you, to break the record of being the first Muslim this and first Muslim that. But Candace, you're officially added to my anti-American list. I don't care how many millions of people call you a hero, a patriot. You're not. Unless, one, as Robert Spencer, director of Jihad Watch, said, you show us the proof. How did he say it? Give us the name of the teacher who brainwashed you after September 11. Give us the name of the school you went to that was absolutely telling you Muslims are all terrorists, because Live Up to Freedom, every rescue case we do is actually a Muslim. We rescue Muslim people from Sharia system. Well, but I guess we sit here and say all Muslims. We don't have a problem with Muslims. We got a problem with Islam, which is the toolbox that can be used by Muslim, by those who decide to become Muslims. Hey, by those who've never become a Muslim, but just use it because they can. So let me put this back because it's in my way. And because I talk with my hands flying all over the place, I don't want to hit it. You want to be a mouthpiece for them. It's your choice. That's all right. But here's a very quick version, and I'm not going to even make it too complicated because it doesn't take much to brainwash you, apparently. It had, 3 interviews with 3 Muslims, and now you're a Muslim. I mean, just let me know when you're going to come out with Allahu Akbar coming out of your mouth so I can pick a good hijab for you, lady. But here's how it goes. If you promote Islam, you go against every single Judeo-Christian values of America. Simply. There are so many samples I can give you, but I give you very few of them. Quran 5:51. Oh, you who have believed, O Muslims, do not take Christians and Jews as your allies, because they are each other's allies. And those who take them as allies will not have Allah's guidance. Last I checked, you claimed to be a Christian. I'm just wondering, why would you want to take them as your allies when they are strictly told by their own Allah not to take you as an ally? Here's another Judeo-Christian value they don't believe in. Jesus was nothing but a prophet of Islam. Oh, you who have believed, do not commit excess in your belief, and do not say the 3, referring to Trinity. How's that for Islam being a wonderful thing for us to practice and get along with and love? You see, I don't mind. Again, freedom of speech gives us the freedom of speech, right? Sit there and say whatever you want to say. But there are two problems. As I said, first of all, don't you dare apologize to Muslims on my behalf. As I said, I am owed a lot of apologies by Muslims. I am. From my past to my present, as of right moment, this very sitting moment here, I have 12 bounties on my head. You know who issued them? Muslims. Not a single bounty on my head was issued by a non-Muslim. Just saying. Just saying. Do your homework, woman. I know you're fancy and I know you have writers and researchers for every show you do. Have one of them sit there and research. Again, you can afford it. That book, Reliance of the Traveler, you can buy it on Amazon for about $280 or $250 if it's used. Grab one of those, have one of your researchers sit there and read through it. Just read through it. I'll make it easy for you. Just have them read through one chapter of it. The chapter of jihad. Where it starts, the very first sentence says, jihad is a holy war against non-Muslims. Oops. Whoops. Wait. Huh? We said all Muslims are jihadists? No. We said Islam obligates every Muslim to be a jihadist. And it's written in this very book. They're right there. This ain't brainwash. It's facts. It's evidence. It's the truth. One way or another, for whatever reason, you have decided to be an apologist. Again, good for you. But I will hold you accountable with such a big name, Candace, you have out there. Such a big followers you have out there. Such claims as an American-loving patriot, a Christian mother out there. Watch your steps when it comes to the arena of Islam and Sharia. Because most of the time, it's very hard to walk back from that path. There are examples out there, many of them, who decided to support Islamization, who decided to go along. And then when they came to realize the reality and they started going the opposite direction, well, there are heavy consequences. Did I mention I have 12 bounties, girl? I kid you not. I didn't choose to be a Muslim. I was born, Allah Akbar, in ear, she's Muslim. But then when I walked away from Islam, automatically I was considered an ex-Muslim who is now committing muharaba, which means waging war against Allah, and she shall be killed. End of the story. So be careful. Part of me is telling you to be careful, watch your back, where you're going with this whole Islam good. I'm sorry, Muslim people, we're terrible people for treating you with Islamophobia. Another part of me is telling you to do not use your platform to misguide our fellow Americans who are recently, burly, tiny baby steps are coming to realize the dangers of Islam. Don't do that. But if you want to continue doing it, then we're going to have this back and forth conversation where you do your thing, I will grab your stuff, I will correct you on your mistakes, and then we're just going to have fun with that. Because remember, starting 2016, I've done that. I've done that with Linda Sarsour. I've done that with Rashida Tlaib. I've done that with Ilhan Omar. Do you really want your name on the same list as these people? I mean, be my guest. That's all right. You know what I do? That's what I do. I sit here as many hours as I can possibly do, and I tell people the truth about all the sugar-coated and lies that is spreading out there about Islam. So if I have to add your list into my list, I'm sorry, your name to my list, we can do that. That's all right. Okay. That feels much better. Much, much better. We did it. And as I said, I had to name names because, I mean, we got plenty of people out there doing the whole Islam religion of peace. Let me correct that sentence. Islam, religion of peace. One, Islam, not a religion. Remember that. It does have a portion of religion where it tells you how to do your prayer, how many times, what to eat, what. Others say 51% of, did you know 51% of Quran, 51% of Quran is about how to deal with non-Muslims? 51% of a religious holy book tells the followers of that religion, if somebody is not a Muslim, give them a chance to become a Muslim. If they refuse, kill them. If they're Christians or Zoroastrian, give them a chance to become a dhimmi, second-class citizen. When they run out of money to pay you for protection, then give them the final option again, convert or die. So 51% of this religious holy book is about convert or kill people. I don't know how you call the religion, I doubt. As far as peace is concerned, again, in the book of Quran, in the book of Sirah, in the book of Hadith, in the book of Reliance of the Traveler, which is a collection of the sacred Islamic laws, every single one translates jihad, the word jihad, one mandatory obligated, you're obligated, you have to commit jihad. You want the best place in heaven, you got to do the jihad. And they all described it as holy war against non-Muslims. There you go. Okay, I think I just went on and on and on, didn't I? Well, I'm pretty good at that. Okay, perfect. So we got that done. I'm not going to hold my breath for Candace Owen to retract or not apologize on my behalf, or possibly contact me and say, hey, come on my show, let's debate this. Because if I do that, I shall not be on this earth much longer. But I will pray that somehow, somewhere, she take a moment and listen to our Lord and Savior's guidance when it comes to this very dark topic that she has decided to step into. Let me do the last plug-in. If you want to support this broadcast, this program, here are a few options. liveuptofreedom.com. liveuptofreedom.com. That's where our website is, right? Go in there, grab all the videos, articles, pictures, whatever you see there, and spread the message. Sharing. That's one way to support us, because you get the voice out, get the message out. If you want to take care of your health and, kind of sort of be involved with more organic stuff, right there on the screen, you see it. Their product is 100% organic. I don't have an ad for them to run yet, but I'm going to do a read for them. You go to cyrusorganic.com. Cyrus, my last name, cyrusorganic.com. 100% organic. I've been using their product since 2018, and I know many of you have asked me, what do I do to have this hair and this skin? There you have it. That's where I get the hair and the skin. Of course, the genes are there too. I'm not going to disregard that. cyrusorganic.com. When you purchase through that link, you get discount. A portion of your purchase will come back to Live Up to Freedom, and then we can continue doing this programming, which I'm hoping you're enjoying, and I'm hoping it's helping wake people up to the truth of one of the top main dangers, which is Islamization. Last but not least, I need to give a shout out to our wonderful, amazing, talented producer. This is our first program with him producing it, which makes life so easy. Hey, I've been just talking, going on, and he's been doing all the magical work and making me look good. Thank you, Greg, for everything you've done today, and I look forward to many, many more programs with you. Appreciate you. And our audience, you stayed. You didn't run, you didn't mute it, you didn't say, oh, this thing again. So thank you. Thank you for your willingness to hear the truth, and hopefully from here, sharing the truth with those who missed it. I need you to stay safe. I need you to stay vigilant. And let's all pray that may God save America. Thank you so much. See you the next time. Goodbye. Well, hello, everybody. It's Annie Cyrus Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. Finish this painting, but I'm sure, or at least I hope, I'll see you at lutfstudio.com.